Yeah, waiting on you.
Always got a long drive. I have to go to the bathroom.
He's good. He's so cute. Little boy.
Yeah, Reuben. Oh, okay.
Come on now.
This is the third boy. You don't think I got enough clothes and stuff for boys?
Well, congratulations.
Thank you.
We got the round, place to put on, wash it, like the Superdome had back in.
Yeah, I walk in and see
Oh, yeah.
Clump.
Yeah.
I walk in,
End up urinating.
my name was right there. What's going on?
I always find it very confusing.
Good evening and welcome to the Bay St. Louis Planning and Zoning Meeting of November 13th, 2024. We ask that you please silence all cell phones and electronics at this time. We're going to begin with a short prayer and the Pledge of Allegiance. In the name of the Father, and the Son, and the Holy Spirit. Father in heaven, we invite you to preside over this meeting. Give us unity of spirit even when our opinions differ. Help us to listen politely to other points of view and to remember that we are all a part of the same community. Direct our thoughts, words, decisions, and actions toward the right path in the best interest of our city. We ask this in your name. Amen.
Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America
and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, the application for PPM development has been withdrawn, so we're gonna move to the first application, Griffin, application for variance of the zoning ordinance submitted by John Griffin. The applicant is requesting a variance of 10 feet, resulting in a 15-foot setback to the front yard to construct an uncovered front porch. The property is located at 3222 15th Street, Hancock County, tax parcel 138C-0-47-199.002, 19 block 34A, Unit 2, Shoreline Park. The property is zoned R1A, Single Family District. Is the applicant here? Yes, sir. Can you come up and state your name and address for us and tell us a little bit more about your application?
Okay, my name is John Griffin. I'm at 3222 15th Street, Bay St. Louis. Basically, the only thing I'm here for a variance. Kathleen is handicapped. She uses a cane, she uses a walker, and she uses a wheelchair. The porch is not wide enough to even turn the walker around. So we're trying to extend it so she can do that. Other than that, the handicap is the biggest thing right now.
Sure.
Okay.
Are there any comments or questions from the commissioners? Anyone in the audience that would like to speak for or against the application? There's no other questions. I'll entertain a motion.
I make a motion, we move.
Motion by Mr. Breland,
Second.
second by Mr. Ag. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Aye.
Aye.
Motion passes. Please
Thank
be
you.
present at the next city council meeting. It'll be in this room Tuesday, November 19th at 5:30. Okay. Our next application is Higgins, application for variance to the zoning ordinance submitted by Tommy Higgins. The applicant is requesting a variance of 10 feet to the front yard, resulting in a 15-foot setback to the front yard to add an addition to the dwelling. The property is located at 334 Gladstone Street, Hancock County, tax parcel 137P-1-35-006.004, 5-8 Block 20, BSL Land and Improvement Company. It is zoned R1 Single Family District. Yes, sir, go ahead.
Yeah, Urban Higgins, 334 Gladstone Street, Bay St. Louis. I'm going to add on to the front of the house. Basically, I'm flip-flopping the laundry room. When I do that, I'm going to take the 10-foot of my carport to do that, so I want to extend the carport another 10 foot out so I can still park the vehicle.
Are there any comments or questions from the commissioners?
No, and I say just for this in y'all's packet, it actually has the construction documents. I don't know if he submitted them yet, but it shows he's using the front yard.
Yes.
Just if you go see it, the
Yeah, I know.
carport's 25 feet right now. It's gonna just be 10 feet longer.
Right.
So it's not like he's putting the whole front of a new house on.
Yeah, the plot plan shows what is
Yeah.
proposed,
Yeah, I
not
thought
what's
y'all had everything,
existing.
so that's why I didn't bring anything with me. Okay, you got it.
Yeah.
Anyone in the audience that would like to speak? I'll entertain a motion.
I move it.
Motion by Ms. Romano, is there a second?
Support.
Second by Mr. Ag. All those in favor?
Aye.
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 Motion passes. Please be present at the next city council meeting Tuesday, November 19th, 5:30 PM. Next application is Robertson, application for special exception to the zoning ordinance submitted by Donald Robertson. The applicant is requesting a special exception to construct a pergola accessory structure on a lot without a primary dwelling. The property is located at 214 Thomas Street, parcel 144N-0-19-040.000, part 106, First Ward, Bay St. Louis. The property is zone R1, single family district.
Thank you very much. I appreciate you guys having me tonight. My name is Donnie Robertson, and I am representing the Thomas Street address you guys mentioned. We also want to mention that we also have purchased the 223 Leonard property as well. And so both properties are actually adjoined together.
Yep.
And when we bought the properties, that was the idea, is actually the Thomas Street property was our backyard, which it is. We're currently in the construction process of building on Leonard Avenue. Actually just finished roofing and framing on that property. There is a spot we picked out on Thomas Street where we'd like to build a structure just for shade, some coffee, enjoying with our family. It doesn't have a roof. It's more of a pergola style, just for shade. And basically when we called, there was an ordinance based on, because of that street, they're on two different neighborhoods, which I should have known, which I didn't when I purchased that. I tried to adjoin the lot, so we talked with Jeremy, and that wasn't an option based on the tax codes and those types of regulations, but ultimately it is our backyard. That's how we want to treat it. We've currently also improved the fence line on Thomas, which hasn't been touched since Katrina. Cleaned that up. We're building a culvert there, and this would be another addition to that property as our backyard where we can enjoy time with my granddad, who's my dad, who's been here forever in Long Beach area, and we'd like that to move forward if possible. And if there's any questions, I'd be glad to answer those.
No, I think there's an email in y'all's packet. Their house that they're constructing in the Leonard subdivision, the back that faces Thomas is just in a.
It's a ward, right? Is that
Yeah,
what?
just a means and bounds, so they just can't do it. It's just kind of a product of what he has, so like.
We tried to join the properties, but they wouldn't allow it
Right.
on that. So it really kind of puts us in a position where they said we had to build another house, and I was like, well, wow, we're building a house, and it's in our backyard. And ideally, if we could build that structure, we'd beautify both properties. The landscaping we want to put around it, we make sure we match the neighborhood, to beautify the area, keep it really simple. But we'd absolutely love to be able to have an area to go out and spend some time together as a family.
And you have to abide by the setbacks of each parcel, so you weren't
Absolutely.
able to put the pergola.
No,
out.
well, if we did, it would be right next to the
This has happened
house.
before, actually.
Yeah, it was one of those things where it would be too close to the house, and this would be perfect if we could put it there. But there were some issues, so we thought we'd come talk to you guys.
You're putting it on the slab that's in the back, correct?
If possible, that would be ideal.
I mean, I saw that's what I'm
Yeah,
There was
yeah.
a
So
slab back there.
yeah, so it's actually a perfect proximity of the house. It's only 30 feet or so from the house currently. We'd build a walkway to connect the two areas. We'd power wash it, and then we'd put the pergola structure on that if possible.
Because when I went to look at it, that's what I said. I saw there was a slab in the back.
Yeah, and so that would be a nice place to put it. It actually architecturally looks really nice in our opinion, but you guys can look at the drawings and see if that
okay.
makes sense to you.
All right, you got a picture of it. I'm sorry, I didn't see it.
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
There's an arrow that kind of shows where it would be. In the plans with our current, we're using Crane Builders out of Bay St. Louis. They're building, Jackie and Chris are building our home for us. We talked today, I've actually met with them. I said if it's approved, she's gonna put a walkway right to that slab to kind of tie it all in, so it looks more as part of the home.
Any other comments or questions from the commissioners?
The only reason I did, I was gonna say, I was like that because there was already an existing slab there, and that's why I didn't know. But
Anybody in the audience that would like to speak? I'll entertain a motion.
I'll move it.
Motion by Mr. Ag, is there a second?
Second.
Second by Mr. Romano, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Aye.
Motion passes. Please be present in the next city council meeting Tuesday, November 19th.
I really
5:30
appreciate that.
in
Thank
this
y'all so much.
Thank you.
Good luck.
So the next thing that we have Mr. Bob Barber, with with Orion Planning. So for those, Bay St. Louis last year and then adopted this year, went with the comprehensive plan. Part of the way to make the whole thing work is we have to rewrite our zoning ordinance. It was something that was done 2010, kind of readopted 2017 with not many changes. And our zoning ordinance does not match our new comprehensive plan. Frankly, just my opinion from reading the old comprehensive plan, our old comprehensive plan didn't meet our zoning ordinance either. So we're in the process of doing that. So Mr. Bob Barber with Orion's going to kind of give everybody an overview of where we are with it all. I think timeline, we're still months away and we still need some more input to do it, but basically say this is what it's going to be. But what it's going to be for y'all residents, everywhere from citizens to developers, it's going to be much more easier to understand and say, these are the defined rules. And frankly, I'd be willing to bet that the way it's written will probably result in less stuff coming through planning and zoning because, some stuff that comes through planning and zoning now, it hasn't been last, but sometimes it was kept on being the same thing over and over and over again. Some of the stuff's going to be eliminated, and then just some of the stuff it's going to be easier for everybody to understand.
Great. Should I go?
Yes,
Okay, all right. Commissioners, thank y'all. I won't take a long time. I just want to spend a few minutes with you and give you an overview of how exactly what Jeremy has summarized in an excellent way. How do we really identify the issues with the current code, and how do we target revising it in a comprehensive and overall way? So you were probably mailed, I think you were emailed a summary memo. This part of the planning process gets really technical, and so this will be a sort of a technical overview that I'm going to give you. I'll try to distill it down. And again, the purpose is to orient you to how we are evaluating the current code, how we're finding the places that need to be adjusted and revised, and then how we're trying to make it more user-friendly. So I've got, this is 25 or 30 slides. I'll go through them quickly to give you an understanding. I don't want to spend too much time on the detail if you don't want it, but I want to spend enough so you can kind of grasp where we're headed. Because ultimately, we'll be back before you with a revised code, and you'll be asked to make recommendations on it. So we went through the Bay St. Louis 2045 planning process. Y'all adopted that plan back in the summer. It was a wonderful process. The planning process is kind of more fun than rewriting a zoning code, which can be a real snoozer if you're not just right down into the details of it. But if you looked at the planning process, we've done 1, 2, 3, and we're into 4 and 5 now. Well, this is where we implement the plan. So as you look at this, you'll see the last plan was mentioned, adopted in 2010. There was a zoning code on the back side of it. And the way zoning law works is zoning is supposed to be based upon a comprehensive plan. It's not just pulled out of thin air. There's a plan, and then it's written into a code. So your planning was updated last year, 2020, or this year actually, 2024, 23 and 24, we did that project. And so now we're into rewriting the code because the plan drives the way the code is written. And that's what we're doing. So without going all back through Bay St. Louis 2045, we think it's a really good plan. The community was very engaged. We projected out growth. We projected future conditions. We got all kinds of community input. We had an excellent series of meetings. And we distilled that down into Bay St. Louis values, what the community really values in terms of its planning and future building. And you'll see those listed there. The code is intended to embody these or achieve these kinds of things, like preserving downtown, certain environmental protections, and improving commercial corridors, balancing community change. That means you know, neighborhood infill and short-term rentals and all of that. All of these things are intended to be embodied in a very technical zoning code. And then in the plan, of course, we had what we call place types, the methodology we use, the kinds of neighborhoods in the different parts of the community. You can go back and refresh yourself on that if you have a mind to do it. But there's about 12 different kinds of places in Bay St. Louis that make up the community, from the highway corridor to the old historic parts of town, the riverfront, the bayfront, suburban areas, and so forth. And then in a couple of places, there are very specific kinds of concepts for the future of the community. This identifying certain areas for mixed-use Old Town development, and that concept you see expressed in those photographs, those images on the left. This was a cluster plan that's applied to some of the areas out near the riverfront, how to preserve the environment while allowing for development and clustering it up in certain ways. This slide out of the plan, or page out of the plan, dealt with retrofitting the commercial corridor, Highway 90, which we'd like for you to call the boulevard. So retrofitting the boulevard in a more attractive way, and we use Frugal Shopping Center as an example of a real strong candidate for improvement over time. And then, of course, downtown. All of that to say, those concepts are what we are trying to code in the zoning code in a user-friendly kind of way. Now, you will remember you may remember a survey. We did an internal user survey. It's in your memo. I think we sent out 20. The council, the commission, and staff was 20 people. We got about 75% response rate. But it gives us a sense of what folks are thinking about the code. Either they have no knowledge of it, or they have an opinion on certain aspects of it. A lot of time is spent in site plan review, variances, and subdivisions. Really is where you're spending your time. An inordinate amount of time spent on variances, which is a little surprising to see. Actually, that's an indication of a weak spot in the current code. Split on whether there's sufficient capacity now to enough available resources to administer the code. What percentage of projects move forward, why do some not move forward? That was a survey component of it. How the code supports downtown, if it does, etc. All these results are in your packet there. You can look at them in more detail. But it leads us to sort of where we need to start looking at least from an attitudinal point of view, what aspects of the code we need to be looking at in terms of revision. So after that was y'all's initials input. This slide, I don't know if you can see it clearly or not, but it just is sort of some of the best practices for a code. And really you're going to adjust a code in 3 areas: the way it's formatted, its regulatory content, and the kind of processes required to administer it. And so, simple, clear language, a lot of this is self-evident, obvious things. Simple language, good use of illustrations. There's not a single illustration in the current code, I don't think. There may be only 1 or 2. Produces the right outcomes. You're not spending time on things that aren't clear, or as Jeremy said, the same thing over and over and over again. And then the right-hand side, some of the don'ts. So we observe these practices as we go through the code. In assessing the current code, we did the user survey. We've looked at the format. We've started looking at the regulatory content. That's the biggest lift in the process. Is the actual regulatory content, and then the process, of course. That's how we assessed it. Now, a few slides. When we map your code, you probably can't read all of that, but down the left-hand side is the way your code is organized, the left-hand column. Across the top is the best practice way of organizing a code. And then we put a dot where these certain elements are. And when you look at all the red dots, what you see, the pattern you see is no pattern. It's just scattered all about. And so you can approach the code and you got references over here and certain provisions. It's just scattered. If those dots were aligned more along that red line, it would indicate that the code was appropriately organized. And the conclusion here is it's not. Now, that, again, you already know that, but we're able to outline it and map it. Now, I'm sorry to say you can't see this. This is an important slide. Maybe you can see some of it. Maybe it's me that can't see it. The square, this is in your memo, by the way. The square number 1 is the best practice organization, and those colors group like topics together. Square number 2 is the way your code is organized under its existing articles. Square number 3 is the way we would propose to organize your existing articles. And then here's the clincher. Square number 4 is the way we want to reorganize your code. This is a new table of contents. We're going to take 16 or 18 articles. We're going to, I say we're going to, assuming you approve it. And we're going to reduce them to 12 articles, consolidate provisions, and reorganize it along this table of contents. That's in your memo. All right. Secondly, and you can't see this, we want to align, the next slide will be the important one. We want to align your existing zones, which are across the top, to the place types that are in the comprehensive plan, which are down the left-hand side. Now, stay with me. On the far right-hand column, which you can't see because the type's too little, are the high-level proposed actions that we want to take. We'll want to consolidate certain zones. We'll want to rewrite certain zones. And we will want to end up with, golly, we just can't see it. I'm sorry. It's in your memo. We'll want to end up with a new set of zoning districts. So instead of the 20 or so that you have now, we would end up with 17. A lot of those, not a lot, some of those zones will be collapsed and consolidated. We've got to create a new zone or two. Now, remember, all this is to match the plan, is to implement the plan. And so when you look at your email, if you have, I'm hoping you're looking at it on your phone maybe somewhere, some of you are. When you look down the right-hand side, you'll see that the current zones, the current zones are here, down that column, and the proposed zones are down the right-hand side. So that will require rewriting and consolidating. All right, so this, then we do a use analysis. This is a slice out of your current code. The use list needs to be modernized. There are certain things that are not there that ought to be there, such as solar energy, which is a big thing now, and electric charging stations and other current uses of property that don't show up. But also, it needs to be adjusted. This will be in your memo, so we're gonna group these uses. We're gonna propose consolidating uses. For instance, your current code has an ice cream stand. No, let me not use that one. It has a pet store, a drugstore, this store, that store, which it all can be consolidated into retail. It's just retail. So we go through and simplify and make that use list respond to 2024 conditions and beyond, as well as consolidate it and simplify it. So that's a part of it. In terms of overall formatting, and we hadn't started this yet, I've already mentioned the reorganization, but when we do start drafting, we'll hyperlink the key sections so that you, if there's a cross-reference in the code, you can click the hyperlink and go to the next section for navigation. We'll have navigation on the pages so you can go forward and backward without having to scroll and scroll and scroll. Fully searchable. We'll reorganize it for readability. There are certain ways we can make it more readable. Not that anybody's going to go looking for it to read unless they need it for something. But overall, we'll be far more user-friendly once we get done. And we will place it in a much nicer graphic format. The upper left is your current code. That's the way it presents itself. The lower right is the way the new code will present itself. We'll have illustrations there so that people can understand the nature of the development that's happening. If we could see the slide better, you would see the hyperlinks there to the use matrix and, again, easier navigation, easier to use and more friendly to look at. So that's just a hyperlink. Final couple of slides on it. Parking, we'll really want to look at in the code. Most communities are overparked. They just require way more parking that's necessary. Now, downtown has a parking, parking is very sensitive downtown, so we need to look carefully at that. You've got private parking lots, and so all of that, right-sizing the parking, the design of parking lots is an important aspect. Accommodating golf carts. The plan has a BSL 2045 plan has a pretty good section on golf lanes and your golf streets and how to make your intersections better, and then we'll want to include that parking, golf parking. Design standards, you have minimal design standards now. So I showed you the slide in the plan that dealt with frugals and maybe some suburban retrofit. Design standards for well-designed parking lots, well-landscaped parking lots, a certain amount of design for architectural features of buildings, site lighting, and that sort of thing. And then streamlining processes where appropriate and where it's deemed beneficial to Bay St. Louis. And hopefully, the initial goal, as Jeremy said, would be you would deal as a commission less with routine stuff, minutia, I'll use that word, and more with substantive planning matters out of the code, so you can get, you're not bogged down with business that really could be handled better elsewhere. That's a part of the streamlining process. And you'll see those procedures. We hadn't gotten into that yet. I'm just giving you a forewarning of what's on the way. And I didn't realize we were going to be so hard to read. So this is the actual scope of the project. It's my last slide too, by the way. This task 1 is outlined in red, which is what we're doing now. It just had us assessing the code, trying to get us focused, getting input from the Planning Commission, reviewing kind of the high-level ideas and making sure we're on the right path and getting any feedback from you as we begin. Because when we go into the next steps, tasks 2 and 3, we will be writing code, and we want to make sure we're at least aiming in the right direction before we start actually writing code. We've started writing a little bit that we know we can address, but we will get very heavily into it now after this meeting. So Madam Chair, to summarize the intention is to give you a sense of how we're looking at the code, how we're trying to identify the areas of improvement, and some direction on how we want to reorganize it and begin to move forward. Looking at a new palette of zoning districts, they'll incorporate the old things, but they'll be consolidated and adjusted, and addressing some of those other issues of parking and design and use table and some of those things. The last thing I'll mention, and see if you have any comments or questions now, or if you think of something in the days ahead. I actually lost my train of thought. So that's where we stand right now with the assessment. Oh, the last thing, in the very last page of that memo that you have, there are an initial set of comments that Jeremy has developed, the administration has developed. Be sure and look at these things, telling us. So you might want to look at that list, and if you have particular areas of concern you want us to be sure and pay attention to, you don't have to cite code section or, the jot and tittle of the law. You can just say, hey, make sure you pay attention to this aspect or that aspect, and we'll be sure to look at it. So that's the very last section of that memo. You might review it. And then I would invite any feedback and comments you have as we jump in. We would hope to be drafting. We have 2 rounds. We'll do a draft, show it to you. We'll do a second draft. We'll field test it, meaning we'll see how we'll do trial runs on certain development scenarios. And then over, late spring, early summer, maybe sooner, but on over in sometime around there, we'll have a draft for you to deal with. I hope I didn't take too much time, Amy. But I wanted to cover that. Thoughts, questions, and I apologize for the tiny type. I thought our visual would be a little larger.
I did have one question, because I think, and this was addressed in there, like the main concern is that, and user-friendly, a user-friendly document, but say it's years from now and we've adopted this, we got this beautiful code document, but something comes up, an amendment needs to be made. Who's in charge of it from that point? Like, would we run it back by you to make sure there's nothing conflicting if we made a new amendment to the code? And then who updates that document? Because I think one of the big problems with the cities will make changes and there's no way it doesn't get updated online, so we don't.
Right.
How do we send someone who's inexperienced to go find it?
That's an excellent question, and we can propose a variety of arrangements. We'll deliver the product in a PDF, an InDesign file, which is, we work in InDesign mostly, but we'll export to PDF and we'll export to Word. So you'll have a document that's amendable locally.
But what if the actual substance of it is conflicting and we don't realize?
If we have an ongoing relationship,
Yes.
we can help you maintain that. You can call on us as needed.
Okay.
And I don't know if it's possible, or maybe I'm stepping. Does Orion ever have basically, I'm not saying, almost retainer? Like, if y'all need
Yeah.
us, call us, and this is our fee. 'Cause I
Yeah.
think that's probably something that would help.
Because obviously we've conflicted ourselves in the past.
Yeah, we can do on call. If you need us, call us.
And then I'm worried about who with the city is actually going to physically update that InDesign document.
Well, typically the city doesn't have InDesign, and then you got to learn to use
Right.
InDesign. But you're delivered in PDF and a Word. You can do the Word. Municode, they will. Is your zoning served on Municode?
Yeah, we just sent it in. It used to not be, and that was the biggest issue. But Municode only updates online once a year.
Yeah.
You send it all, and they say, all right, we'll do it at December.
What about control? I mean, who's gonna have control of it? You just don't wanna turn it loose. You gotta have somebody have just control of it. I mean, we will y'all be the one that's in control of it?
It'll be,
It's
it'll
like
be
this
how-
isn't our first rodeo.
Yeah,
It'll all be AI by then. It
Yes.
doesn't really matter.
It's amazing, the AI.
It's,
Yep.
It is, things are changing so
yeah,
fast.
it'll-
And you're probably right, a lot of
be
it
done
will
in
be.
5 minutes.
Yeah, but, we can make it, well, the control of it rests in the codified, area of Bay St. Louis law. But we can have an arrangement to ongoing, on-call support, whatever's needed, we can work it out.
We just don't want people going in and changing it and just, that's my biggest concern, control copy and just.
Yeah.
And
Any
when was
other-
it, when you say was about the projected go live date on this?
We would like to present draft number 1. Don't hold me strictly to it. It's within our, we scoped it for 11 months and we've been at it for 2.
Okay.
So, but I think we'll move quicker than that. We would like to have you a first draft in early to mid-spring, sometime in that time frame.
So we'll shoot for the
Yeah, I just,
2026, 1st of January 2026.
the one thing that we always make sure we do is whenever Bob calls, we get his, I
Oh,
drop
yeah.
everything I do just to make sure he's happy.
Ha!
I don't do my own work, I just make sure Bob has what he needs, 'cause this is important.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It is.
It is.
It'll be less headache for me once it's done.
When y'all did the presentation last time, it was really good, so.
We'll be having meetings in the morning with Jeremy and Mike, and Amy's gonna give us some input, and any of the commissioners are welcome to give us input at any time. Again, whatever comment you have, you can have my email, in fact, it may be in that memo, email and cell number, or go through Jeremy, or however you wanna do it.
Forwarded everything.
You can just tell me your comments.
That's all I have, unless y'all wanna talk, have any more input or comment on it. All good?
Sounds good.
Oh, thank you, Ms. Kalen, for sending it to us. I appreciate it.
Thank you, Mr. Barber.
Thank you.
All right. Well, okay, our last,
Minutes.
the minutes aren't on here as an agenda item.
We had the meeting, the minutes from the last meeting.
Oh, it was the first thing. I missed it. Okay, well,
Wanna
we'll
go back?
make a motion to approve the minutes of October 9th, 2024.
I'll make a motion.
Motion by Mr. Breland, is there a second?
Aye.
A second by Ms. Brown, is all those in favor?
Aye.
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 Motion passes. Last item is a motion to adjourn.
Move we adjourn.
Motion by Mr. Ag. You took that from me.
I was gonna say, I thought that was protocol was what this was.
Go ahead and second.
My job. Second, yeah, you're being replaced. Took my place.
You gotta second it.
You need to second it. I'll second it.
Second by Mr. LeBlanc. All those in favor?
Aye.
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 Aye. Aye.
Aye.
You've upset that.
Meeting, I know.